Welcome to the Cracking the Rich Code podcast. I'm your host, John Verico, and this is the show where we get to meet the authors in the Cracking the Rich Code series. And I am very, very excited about my guest this morning, and that is Cheryl Meriot. So let me bring her on. Cheryl, good morning. How are you today?
I'm great, John. How are you?
Oh, it's always a wonderful day being here on the Cracking the Rich Code podcast. I get to meet such wonderful people here because there are so many just brilliant, fabulous thought leaders in this series of books. And so I understand that you are going to be one of the newer ones. As of this recording, you're
Mhm.
going to be in volume 17, which is not quite out yet as of now. And I know you've got to be excited about this. So tell me, is this your first journey into the publishing world?
It is actually. So I'm very excited about this. Definitely stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit, which is good.
Well, that's a great thing to do that because we stretch ourselves when we have the opportunity to do things that we've never done before, and everything is a learning experience and everything is a growth opportunity. And I think you're going to be very excited. You're joining an incredible group of people. So tell me, Cheryl, what made you decide to step out of your comfort zone and come into this arena of publishing?
Well, I think the last few years has really been all about stepping out of my comfort zone. And when Jim approached me and said, hey, I think you'd be a great fit. At first, I thought, why me? And then I went, why not? And I thought, let's just do it. It felt like a real pivotal moment that what if I do it and some amazing things happen? And if I didn't, I know I would have like FOMO. I'd have a total fear of missing out. So that's why I decided to
Absolutely, I
go
love that why not mindset. I mean, really, that is
for it.
that is such a it's actually it may sound silly to say, but that is probably one of the strongest mindsets I've come across. And it's so true because when you're faced with an opportunity, we always think of all the reasons why we shouldn't, or why we can't, or why it's inconvenient, or why we're not capable, or whatever it is. And then we wind up in missing
Mhm.
out on opportunities. Maybe we deliberate on it too long. But it sounds like you were like, well, yeah, darn it, let's give it a shot. And I'm loving.
Exactly.
So now, tell me about what your chapter is going to be about in 17. I'm looking forward to this coming out.
Well, actually, my chapter is actually about that. It's about imposter syndrome, and it's something that I had struggled with all of my life. And it's actually you know, who I found I'm gravitating to in my coaching business, as well as actually in my clinical hypnotherapy business as well. So it just seemed a perfect fit. And again, why wouldn't I talk about something like that? That's so near and dear and a lived experience for me.
Well, let me ask a little bit about what is it that you do, and let's give an opportunity for the listeners and the viewers to get to know who Cheryl Marriott really is, and what you're about, what brought you to this career field that you're in now too.
Okay. So I have worked in healthcare for the last 20 years, and for the last dozen or so, I have been in what we would call medical affairs. So I was actually on the concerns management side of working with physicians and medical leaders. When the pandemic hit, I decided that I wanted to go back to school. And it was a big step because at my age, to go back to school was quite a feat. So I went back to school and became a clinical hypnotherapist, and that really spoke to me because I wanted to help people that were going through things that they couldn't really find the help that they needed with the conventional um, medical system. So as that kind of evolved, I'm still working full time in healthcare, but also building my business on the side. As that evolved, I realized, wow, I'm doing a lot of coaching in this. So went back again for some coaching, and then started to come out, if you will, with the hypnotherapy and the coaching in my corporate side. And with that, I remember one of my it was a senior medical leader in the province where I'm at, and he said, "Well, what where are you going for executive coaching?" And I hadn't really thought of that yet, and I kind of stumbled about it. A little bit of imposter syndrome coming in. It's like, well, you should go to this university. All the physicians go there, and I was like, okay. So I thought, why not? So I took a chance, applied, not realizing that I missed the cutoff by about
Oh,
5 days.
but
However, they accepted me anyways.
uh,
So I went to university at the ripe age of 54,
young spring chicken.
and that, yeah, it was quite an experience. And any kind of imposter syndrome, I shouldn't be here, I don't deserve to be here, what am I doing here, was coming out through that. But it was such a huge growth um, experience, learning opportunity, and it brought me to where I am now. And I'm still working corporate. I'm close to pensioning out. Um, and now I actually coach full time the physicians and the medical leaders, and absolutely love it. And also building the business on the other side. So
I could tell your passion in your
that's
voice
kind of.
as you were describing this whole journey. And so let's talk a
Mhm.
little bit about what you're talking about in your chapter. What story are you telling? What advice are you providing, or what are you sharing there? Without giving the whole thing away, because we
Well,
want people to buy the book and read it.
no,
But
exactly. It starts off really with my first assignments at the university, where I'm really asked, okay, what's your learning personality, if you will, like? How do you learn best? And I was like, okay, I got this. I can do this. And um, now, I guess the the platform for universities, everything. Well, the course was online, so everything was online, and so you can see everybody else's responses. And so I had put mine on. I'm like, okay. And then other students in the cohort were coming in, and they were citing publications and academic papers. And it was like, what have I done? What have I done?
I'm not
Why
one of
am
those.
I here? And yeah, exactly. It rocked me. And so as we were going through it, the theme around my chapter is Natasha Bedingfield's song Unwritten, because that actually became our cohort theme song. And there were certain lines that really stood out, and all of a sudden it took me back, like years ago, from you know struggling with cancer, going through all of that, working with clients, helping them really realize that that light in the tunnel isn't the train. Actually, it's something else. We're coming out to the end of it. Things are going to be okay.
I use that
And just really
expression a lot,
moving
by the
through
way.
that.
But the light at the end of the tunnel
Yeah,
possibly being an oncoming train. But or the assurance that it
so
is
it's just
not.
exactly. So really just working through how I came from um, controlling everything, being little OCD, a lot type A, didn't really figure out where it came from, and just kind of the readers will walk my journey with me. So,
Always needing to be in control. And then at the same time,
mhm,
um, it sounded like, with imposter syndrome, people that have self-doubts. All right. We're afraid to take
mhm.
steps. We want to be in control, and then we doubt whether or not we have the capability. And that's so self-defeating.
It is. It really is. And also not wanting to ask for help in the meantime too.
Oh, God forbid.
I know, like we've
Right,
been
right. Because
talking
when you
about.
ask for help, it seem like, well, you don't really have, the background, the qualifications. What are you doing here, and all of that stuff, and you're afraid of that. And I'm a big proponent for never, never fear asking for help because it's
Mhm.
so important for us to be
I'm
able to
getting
do
better.
that. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
the thing is, as we go through life, we need to understand that we're going to make mistakes. We're going to be every day is a learning journey, and it sounds like that you've really taken that to heart.
Definitely.
So let me ask you this: if you were to provide one single piece of advice to, and I'm sure you did this in your chapter, but if you were to provide one single piece of advice to people who are listening to or watching this podcast, what would you want to tell them?
I would tell them that the imposter syndrome is reversible, that it's really our brain's way of protecting us. And, you know, neuroplasticity is a beautiful thing, and anything can be reprogrammed. It's we've gotten so good at layering up the I'm not enough, I can't do this. We've got that inner critic in there just really cheering us on to say, yeah, you can't, you don't know how to do this. And I'm really here to say, you know what? You can do anything.
Cheryl, that is so brilliant, and I love that viewpoint. I talk about that the inner voices myself a lot, and we know that those voices are not ours. They're voices that we've heard from other people. Your mom, your dad, a teacher, the bullies at school, whoever it was that put those voices there, and we just need to choose which ones we're going to believe. I am so
Exactly.
excited to look forward to reading your chapter in volume 17. I do want to touch on something a little painful that you mentioned. You said you had a journey encountering cancer. Do you
Hmm.
wanna share a little bit about that? Because that's always
Oh, sure, sure.
it's such a traumatic thing and obviously so dangerous and, um, I mean, I I've gone through, fortunately not personally, but a lot of people in family, friends, and such who've gone through
Mhm.
that journey. So would you like to share yours with us?
Sure. First off, I was the first person, I guess, in my family to. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, so nobody else in my family had it, and it came through a really odd way. So I had decided, and this might be TMI to our readers, but it's just, you know what, for the women, mammograms, always, always, always so important. So I decided I was going in for actually a reduction. And I don't know in other countries in the world, but in Canada, when you have any kind of surgery, they take the tissue and it goes to pathology just to check, just for, just for safety sakes. And so I was recovering, and I remember my husband and I were driving home getting groceries, and my doctor's office called, and I saw it popped up on the CarPlay or whatever, and I was like, hmm. And I remember I work in healthcare, so I know exactly. I'm like, why are they calling? And the nurse, God bless her, was really, really good with not saying anything, and so she said, the doctor wants to see you. Can you come in today or tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, this is not good. And I'm like, tomorrow. Tomorrow will work. And I'm like, so do I need to bring my husband with me? And she goes, if you want somebody there to support you, by all means.
Oh,
And I'm like, okay. So, and I'm like, awesome. All right. Made the appointment. We get home, and my doctor's office has actually a patient portal where you can go in. It's like online booking. You can check lab results. And I went in, and there it was. So I don't know if they didn't realize that that's the first place that I'm going to go to. Now, I had it much better than most. Um, Two of my best friends had also had breast cancer. And I was surprised because the adage is, okay, 1 in 8 women will get it. So I thought, okay, I'm good. Like in my circle of eight, two of them already had it. I am so good. So I was a little bit
oh,
shocked. And so one of them came over that night with a really big bottle of wine and a big chocolate cake. and a bunch of files and sat down with my husband and I, and we went through everything. And I'm all about the knowledge. Knowledge is power. So when we went to the doctor the next day to see, okay, what exactly I was facing, I felt a little bit more prepared. Usually you're going to go in for biopsies and whatnot, but because I had gone for a reduction, we didn't know exactly how big, how much, what we were looking at. And so I opted for a mastectomy. It was like, no, just take it. I don't want to screw around with anything. I'm not taking a chance with anything. So ended up, luckily in Canada, we, or in my province, there's a mandate. It's like 6 weeks, 6 weeks from um, diagnosis or seeing the surgeon to surgery. So I had some pretty major surgery and was in, was in the hospital. It was coming out of the hospital and having to ask for help that was actually the hardest part for me, because my husband was still working at the time. He's since retired, but at the time he was still working and having a hard time kind of to, you know, get time off. And then we had two seemingly puppies, and it was like, okay, I can't take them out for a walk. How are we going to do this? And it was like, okay, you're going to have to ask for someone for help. Are you kidding me? I can't ask anybody for help. It would make me look weak. And so, honestly, really having to swallow it down and ask for help. Like, are you able to come over while he's at work? Um, because, I can't bend over to feed the dogs. Like something so simple like that was driving me nuts. But I was off work probably for about 5 months, recovering, and was blessed that I didn't have to go through any kind of chemo or anything
Oh,
like that.
wonderful.
It
Good.
ended up being, it was really, I was so fortunate. And it was a very large mass. It was like 100 and, well, I'm going in metric stuff. It was 14 centimeters. So
Ooh,
it was big. Yeah, and and I came through it. So after that, noticing that on the Canadian Cancer Society, they actually had one of the adjunct therapies for women going through breast cancer and chemo was clinical hypnotherapy. So that was kind of the tipping point of, okay, this is why I want to go back and do that and give back to the women that are struggling with that, just through helping with their anxiety, with pain, with that. Now what? Okay, this is what it's a big psychological um,
yeah.
growth, if you
Yeah, it's a
will.
it's a
So,
tough transition.
it is a tough transition. And, you know, my husband was awesome. My friends are amazing. My family's awesome. So I came through the other end literally with glowing colors. So, so that was that. So now if I hear someone, has been diagnosed with it, it's like, here's my name. You want to talk, you want to vent, you want to cry, give me a shout. And it's definitely a sisterhood that nobody wants to be a part of. But um, yeah, it definitely helped me look outside of the silo. Like it just gave me such a bigger, broader perspective of life in general. So
Cheryl, I'm really enthralled with your whole story. Was this when you did the hypnotherapy? Was that your first encounter with that?
with hypnotherapy, no, actually, I had done hypnotherapy with smoking years ago, and was shocked because you went into like a hotel banquet room and there was like 300 people. This would have been back in I think 1989 or 1990, and you sit down, someone comes up, hypnotizes the entire room, and I left there a non-smoker, and I was blown away, absolutely blown away. What do you mean? I was shocked, and um, at the time, I was actually, I think I was 18. I was working in a hair salon, and between clients, we would just go up to the front desk and have a smoke. That was just what we did. And um, I will say I did start smoking a few months later, and um, when I eventually quit, it was because we had just got the puppy, and the puppy sat down in front of me and he coughed. And my husband still to this day goes, I've asked you to quit for how many years, and the
The
dog
dog.
comes, sits in front of you, and I'm done. And it's been 30 years since then. So yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, the hypnotherapy was amazing, and to see now my clients fear of heights, no problem. Um,
Oh, I need to
you
talk to you
know,
about that one.
fear of loss. Yeah. Well,
I didn't
one of
used to
my
have a fear
clients
of heights, but then
actually.
I went cliff diving and hit a rock.
What?
And now I
Oh,
can't even get on a ladder.
well, that's
Another
yeah,
story.
I can help you with that.
Another whole story, but
But no, it's amazing how it can change your life, and it's those little neural pathways. I'm going to geek out here for a second, but I always liken it to we have our construction season is basically spring, summer, winter, and fall here. So I liken our little neural pathways in the brain, especially with fears, like it's like we're just putting asphalt upon asphalt upon asphalt on these potholes. And so our brain gets really good. This is just the
right.
way that we go. So in order to, really alleviate these fears and conquer them, we need to build a new road per se. And so that this one eventually collapses and it doesn't hurt or anything like that. But we've just gotten so good at going to what we're used to. And so with the hypnotherapy, it just opens up so much for so many.
I'm so glad we had this side conversation because I've learned a lot about hypnotherapy, and I think our listeners and viewers will as well, and will as will the readers of the volume 17 of Cracking the Rich Code. I actually was wanted to get into the fact that, you know, Miss, I'm afraid I won't ask for help and I want to control everything is now being there to be the person to provide the help
Mhm.
for others who finally get around to asking for it.
Mhm. It's it's amazing. If I can if I can help one person have a better life, like med free, awesome. Then you know what? Then it just that just lights me up. And I'm a softie inside. So on some of with some of my clients, it hits really, really close to home, but it gets you right in the feels. So it's like, okay, this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing. This is this is something positive, and you know, if I can help one person a day, one person a week, whatever, if I can help just one more person, then I'm good.
That is such a wonderful perspective, and you're such a warm, compassionate person, and I'm so glad we had the opportunity to chat today. I have so many more questions that I could ask and delve into, but we do want to keep this at a good listening length, and maybe we'll get you back on again at some point in the future. I know we're trying to
Definitely.
focus on a lot of all the authors, so maybe we'll talk again after the book comes out and see
Sure.
what reaction you're getting from friends and family and people like that who are reading this chapter in this opportunity that you have now to reach out to a broader audience through the Cracking the Rich Code
Mhm.
book. I mean, we know this entire series has been an international bestseller, and so the book has potential to reach people all around the world. Are you ready for an influx of people going, "Oh my God, Cheryl, I need some help"?
I say bring it. I'm
I
so
love it.
ready.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. You mentioned earlier too how you struggled with imposter syndrome and how challenging it was for you to get to a point where you needed to ask for help in a variety of ways.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm wondering because there are people who right now are really struggling uh, because of the world situation, because of health situations. Let's give them one little strong piece of advice, some ray of hope that they can find that light at the end of the tunnel that is not the oncoming train. What would you say to
Mhm.
folks who may be facing imposter syndrome right now, or just because of what's going on in the world, feeling like they're in trouble?
I think the biggest thing that I could offer up is a bit of a challenge. And because neuroplastically, if that's even a word, you know what? I'm
It's a
making it a
word.
word today. It's it's a word.
Let's put that on the
Our
calendar.
brain doesn't know.
Today when we recorded this,
Yes,
we have
March,
ent-
March 7th,
we've
neuroplastically.
entered a new word into
We,
Webster's dictionary.
our brain doesn't know the difference between reality or fiction. It just doesn't. So I challenge all of the listeners to at least 10 times a day. Set it as a reminder on your phone when you go to the bathroom, when you wash your hands, when you're just sitting in traffic. Say to yourself, I'm amazing. I am amazing. Because after a little bit, the brain will catch up, those neural pathways will catch up, and all of a sudden that cloud starts to dissipate. And it's like, okay. At first it's going to feel like, really? Come on, trust me. Trust me. It'll change.
Cheryl, thank you so much. You are amazing.
So are you,
And I'm
John.
looking forward to reading your chapter and to reading more about your journey and to learning from you. And I think the rest of the world is waiting too. So as soon as volume 17 comes out in of Cracking the Rich Code, grab a copy out there, folks, and read Cheryl Meriot's chapter. Cheryl, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Is there anything else that you would like people to know about you or anything else before we wrap this up?
Um, well, at the moment, I can't think of anything other than thank you so much for having me on. This was a ton of fun. Everybody should have fun.
Absolutely. And having fun is one of the most important things that we can do in life.
Hmm.
There are things that help us get through. And one is to not over dramatize the things that are going on, stop doubting ourselves, believe that we're amazing,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
find time to have some fun. And
nailed it.
Cheryl,
You
this has been
nailed it.
so much fun. And I look forward to chatting with you more. And I want to learn more about how to overcome that fear of heights that I've developed
Hey, there you go.
because I have convinced myself now that I cannot get on that ladder and I cannot jump off that diving board anymore. But I tell you one thing,
You can.
I will not, even if I could, I will not jump off a cliff again.
I think that's a great idea.
The stupid things we do in our youth.
Exactly.
Cheryl Meriot, Volume 17, Cracking the Rich Code. Pick it up, read it, and thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and we will talk again soon.
Thanks, John.
And everyone, you have been watching the Cracking the Rich Code podcast, where we get to dive deep and learn about who people are who are authors in this incredible international best-selling book series, Cracking the Rich Code. Pick up volume 17, check out Cheryl Meriot's chapter, and have a great day.